and they had it all super organized. And he said, there'll be no queues. We've got it organized so that this will happen here and blah, blah, blah. And the election did go off, the best election ever. No queues, no one standing outside. It was super, super well done. But the night before, when he was on TV saying, thank you very much, we'll see you at the polls tomorrow morning. Good night. Well, thank you very much, Chris. We hope that blah, 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 blah. Oh, I'm going to shake hands. He gets into his car. He's driving home.
No.
Dead.
Wow.
And 20 minutes later, his eyeballs and his thumb attempted to gain access to the servers.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
and he was found in the forest where everyone is dumped. He was found in the forest. Eyeless, thumbless.
You're listening to Bored with Nelly.
There was so much I wanted to still talk to you about. So working obviously there, you made other movies, or you worked on other movies, Daredevil.
Yeah.
What are your fondest memories, I guess, of working in feature films?
Fondest memory of feature films? I guess, well, actually, I really liked Adaptation because we came in, got that job done, and it was such the most impressive film. So to be known for working on that, it was still one of my favorite films ever. And I remember going to the Q&A afterwards, and I remember asking the question, because the movie goes on so many odd tangents. It's like, where do you get that? Where do you allow yourself to go there? The fact that the guy couldn't write a movie about the thing he was supposed to make.
Yeah.
So he made a movie about failing to make it. You know, in fact, they love the fact that in the movie, his brother is in the credits. You know,
yeah,
the whole
he's not
thing.
even a real person. You're right.
He's not even a real person.
Yeah.
And I love the way at the beginning when he says, I hate that this would change into a stakeout movie or a drugs heist movie or, you know, da-da-da-da-da. And then when he got killed, the brother took over and did exactly that. I thought it was just brilliant.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, to be associated with that was really good. There's been other things so feature films. Oh, actually, We Were Soldiers was really good to be working on.
Yeah.
I worked on We Were Soldiers, and we were trying to get everything. I remember the director, Randall Wallace. Was it Randall Wallace? Oh, geez.
I'll look it up.
I can't get my names right today, but it's a bit difficult. You know, he was like, it's about getting it right. It's about telling the story, and it's about getting all of this right. And he said, you know, I remember him saying very early on,
Randall Wallace.
This is about, if you don't do this right, you're not doing the right thing, honoring these guys that have died. You know, it's got about doing it right. Now that echoed back to when we did the E3 trailer for Rising Sun for Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
We had a historian involved. We had to get all the ships built exactly right. There was so many things that we were watching, like Pearl Harbor. And it's like, those are all 1975. This is all wrong. All these ships are wrong. All these guns are wrong. The way the hatches open is wrong. The way that they actually had the animation, that had the timings of hatches don't open forward. They always open backwards. There's tons of different things. And I remember we worked really hard on getting the black smoke right for Pearl Harbor and doing all those things right, even though it was represented in milliseconds. It was just a shot here, shot. We tried to get all of that, and we spent a lot of time getting that timing right for the attack on Pearl Harbor, and then even the way the bunk beds were, all of those things. And then, after I finished it, I went to Hawaii, and my wife was like, "Hey, let's go to the Pearl Harbor thing." I was like, "Oh yeah, oh wow, going to the Pearl Harbor thing, like where it actually happened." And then I went there, and I was standing, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is the actual place that we modeled this bit that I'm standing on, and these guns are actually in the right place. We did our job right." And I was like, "Oh, we didn't get.
We're in the
right.
Matrix." That's a moment where you realize that we are in the Matrix, and this is this is simulation.
But then
you did it. You created it.
We did this tour, and we talked to this guy, and then this guy was this old guy, and he was like, and then blah 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 blah, and then it slowly dawned on me. It was like, oh wait, he's talking when this happened, and we were down here. I'm like, he was there. So I went up to him afterwards and said, "Hey, we had to do a historical recreation, and we did our best. We didn't get everything right, but you know, I kind of want to say I didn't know what to say.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's like you were there. So we encapsulated this, and I said we recreated it in a computer. He didn't really understand, but I said we made a film to show that, you know, and our biggest goal was to get everything historically right. But meeting it and talking to him, I was like, oh my God, I'm such a fraud. I'm just pushing pixels around. This guy actually was there, you know? And he said, yeah, I remember the explosion went off. I got blown in the water, and that's where I broke my leg.
Jesus.
And blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And see these fingers. Yeah. I lost that because of the oil burning. I was trying to pull this off my buddy. I was like,
I'm just the guy in a computer room, just pressing
exactly.
some keys.
So yeah, in terms of, you know, that video game intro is long gone. It's a long time ago, but in terms of how it made me feel about the work that I was doing, it's like, you know, and that really led to, you know, later on in life when, you know, my wife and I decided to do different things. Instead of, you know, my wife was kind of like, she was working in production as producer. I was directing kind of visual effects based commercials, and I was creative director at Riot, which is now Method. And everything was fine. Working hard, making a good dose of money. And then my wife went, "Is this it then? Is this what we're gonna do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, look, it's great."
Yeah.
And she was like, "No, we got to be doing something. There's got to be something else. This can't be it." And so she really looked into doing something else. And in the end, although trying lots of different things locally, community stuff, trying different things, the way to give back to the community, we found there was a need for making documentary films for some of the charities in Africa.
Yeah.
And a lot of them had that sad, you know, the flies and just horrible. Nobody wants to give money to that. It just sends the wrong message. All it does is show failure. So we want to show promise and hope. So what we did was we didn't go to the Red Crosses of the world or the big charities. We found the small ones that were doing a good job that actually had an end goal. Like, we want to do this and then we're going to go, not just stay there for, you know, we want to actually make a difference and then move on. And so we made documentary films for them. And then at that point, then we realized the massive impact that it made for those communities and for those organizations, just massive. And we're like, oh my God. And they, you know, one of them was saying, we now don't need to do funding for another 2 years. You made one film. We've now got a funding. We can finish building this hospital. What?
Is there a lot of like nonsense with charities and donations and stuff? Because that's a really hard thing, right? Because a lot of charities have their own corporate structures, and you have people that are
you have to be a 501c3. You have to be a charity organization to receive money in that way. And then even when we made that film company a charity, so it was nonprofit, we weren't making money off it. We were covering our stuff. But then that need for, we do like 70%, let's get this graphic, 70%, that was our normal work. And then 30% was we'd go across and do some projects. We did a bunch of projects in the States, but it wasn't the same as going over there in terms of the change. And indeed, it was, my wife was like, we did a whole bunch of projects. We're coming back and forward and doing that. But then it was like 40% of our time, then 50% of our time. And then she said, wouldn't it be great just to get a project there? And I was like, sure. All right. And so a project landed with Southwest Airlines wanted us to do this big, huge, sprawling project. And it was basically taking discarded seats, the leather from seats from Southwest Airlines, all the seats are kind of the same.
Yeah.
No first class, second class, just all the seats. They used to have these thick leather seats, but they realized they were really, really heavy because they had to withstand like somebody standing on them with a stiletto to put their bag away.
You're right.
So they have to be tough. So they were tough. They were super, super strong. And then when they realized they could reduce their carbon footprint by getting, less weight and all that kind of stuff, let's do these lighter seats. They had all these seats and they couldn't get rid of them in the States because they were like, it's leather. And they're like, has people's bums been on this? Like, no, it's cleaned them all. They couldn't get rid of them for legal reasons. And so they literally they have a fleet of about 700, 800 airplanes. Each of them has about 148 to 150 odd seats, depending on the configuration.
Wow, that's a lot. That's
it's
a lot of
acres
tons.
of leather.
Yeah.
It's acres. And it turned out to be 15 40-foot shipping containers filled to the brim.
Of leather. That's insane.
That they couldn't get rid of. And they were going to put it in a landfill. And then it turns out that one of the guys that works at the high up in Southwest went, we could totally give this away to like Kenya. And he grew up in Kenya. He actually went to the international school in Kenya, in Nairobi. And so he was a white guy, but he'd grown up there. And so he had an affinity for the place. And he said, let's find a company that can do this. And so we got contacted by Creative Visions which is a company here that basically find needs of companies that want to do good things and then find the right production companies to do it. They also do lots of other things. So they found us. We were friends with them already. And so we went out to this project. It was supposed to be like 2 or 3 months of filming, which was a lot. And then maybe a bit more, and then a bit more. And then I came back, and then we went back a bit more, and then we did more and did more. And then it was like we were there like 9 months. And then my son was at school, and then 2 years had passed, and we're still there. At this point, then we decided to do something different. And we realized there was a lot of young people that didn't have a voice. So we built what was going to be a radio station to allow young people to speak. And then we realized we could build a TV station. We got help from companies, Sony and Canon and Newtek, and a bunch of other people donated stuff. And then in the end, we ran the biggest, most prolific digital studio in East Africa, run by young Africans that we've trained over the last 10 years.
Beautiful.
And we've been there 10 years. It's insane. Just absolutely crazy. So yeah, in terms of like, making a different path, it was great to do that. And then, coming back to the States was quite interesting as well, because we got to a stage that the studio was kind of running itself. And it didn't really necessarily need me on a daily level. So it's kind of like, okay, what's next? And as soon as I said that, a friend of mine who was a very well-known production designer and kind of futurist called Jeff Julian called me up and said, I have a super secret project. I need you in LA like next week. I'm like, let me come across and say hello.
Right.
So I came across, and then we jumped in on this project. And I can say now it was for the Saudi megacities project. And so we were designing a whole bunch of stuff and airports and massive areas of land, and we were creating and designing and doing all that kind of stuff. And it was massively fun. But then I was kind of going back and forward, and my wife was going back and forward. And we have a place in the marina down here. And then COVID hit, and then we were kind of like, I guess we're here for a bit. And then it was kind of like, are we back? I don't know if we're back or not. Because it was weird working on a project I couldn't even talk about or tell anyone what I was working on. So it was quite interesting time going to Africa and then doing that.
I wanted to ask you about Hollywood, but now I'm way more interested in Kenya. Like, what? I didn't really care about Hollywood anymore. Who cares about Hollywood? Everyone's been to Hollywood. It's a played out story. How is living in Kenya?
So doing that, what happened was doing one of our non-profit stuff. We were trying to get, one of the stories that came to us was people are always going to these third world countries and giving books, giving big old heavy books and big old computers that are rubbish. And what we weren't seeing is allowing them to have art or music. And these people that are there are just filled with art and music. But we noticed that, and this company, this charity noticed that they're not really putting money or time into allowing creative arts. So we did this cool project, and it was kind of a two-sided thing. We thought we'd take young hip hop and rappers and DJs and dancers from here, and then take them there to have basically what was going to be a music festival. And we're doing it to raise awareness of the fact that there's a need for art and to actually put money into art, and not just money into giving them shoes and things like that. They need art to be, so they're creative, and to show that to the world, that there are a lot of young creative people there, and to show that there's actually a need for art. At the same time, it was a massive culture shock for these young people from the States going over there and learning.
I can't imagine. Yeah.
So the film was about that. So how do we contact these young people? We said, we found a young dance crew that were totally cool. And we talked to them about how we could be involved with them in a project. They were totally all in. So when we did that project, that was a way back. When we went back for the Southwest project, we said, oh, we need crew. Oh, hey, let's just call up the same guys. We're going to get professional film crew. We thought, no, let's nurture these guys. So we called them all back in, and they're totally like dancers. They're a dance crew that go around that perform, and they're now running the studio. They're now they manage the studio and manage the gear and do all that, and they've been with us all that time. They totally came on board, and then because we were there doing this nonprofit, this Southwest thing, people started noticing that we were there. And we were the Hollywood people.
Hollywood
people. Hey, do you want to do some commercials? And I'm like, no, I don't. I don't. I wanted to concentrate on doing this documentary.
Yeah.
But then there was some cool ideas to do, and we got the opportunity to do a massive new range of spots that went on to win a whole bunch of awards, and it really put a mark on the way that we were doing commercials there, and which was really good fun, but before we knew it, we were doing commercials, and then we needed a place to be, so we needed a studio, so we went to a studio, and then that's when my wife was involved in there was a campaign to see what the youth wanted for the next election. So she said, well, let's have a town hall meeting. Let's get the young involved. And they said, what's a town hall meeting? She went, get all the kids together, get people together, talk about what they want to go, take away some points. And they're like, oh, we've never done that. So we did that. And it was so massively popular. It was unbelievable. And we realized from that, it's like, this wee girl's amazing. She needs a voice. These guys. So it's like, we decided these people need a voice. So instead of we did the campaign for the election, but we realized, let's do something about this. Let's take these young people and do something. So at first it was going to be radio, but then we were looking to how we could do radio and all that kind of stuff and build a little podcasting thing. And then I've got some friends at New Tech, and they were like, "Oh, you need to do this with video." I'm like, "Well, you need to send me a TriCaster." Like,
right.
What's your address? So it's kind of like that. And so then we started doing live streaming, live shows, direct to a mobile audience before Facebook Live, before YouTube Live, using the live stream platform, which is now a generic term.
Right.
Right? And
it was
we were
Ustream,
embedding.
wasn't it? Wasn't Ustream like the first one or something?
There was Ustream, and then there was Livestream.
Livestream,
was better.
okay.
They had servers there.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So anyway, so Livestream, and we were doing 3D, like render, like 3D multiple camera, like virtual sets with audiences, with microphones like this, with mixing desk and DJ table, and a whole set, multiple cameras. And we were doing that in 2013, live to a mobile audience.
From Kenya.
With 3D virtual sets, live.
That's insane.
You say live more.
Yeah, I get yeah.
But then from that, people are like, hey, we want to write a fashion thing. We want to write a news thing. We're like, okay, you sit over there. We need a website. All right, we're going to build a set. What's it called? What's Good Live. All right, we're calling it What's Good Live. And then it turned into this huge big platform called What's Good Networks. And then we started making shows, and then we got into esports. We got into everything. It was just turned into this huge thing. It was just absolute. And at one point, we've scaled down now a little bit because it was post-election, things got a little bit squirrely there. But at one point, we had 37 staff, and
wow.
We were on an acre of land with guard dogs. They were Dachshunds, but they were guard dogs. And guards, electric fences, and a recording studio, separate control room, and a full, absolutely, like, it sounds great, it looks great, proper custom recording studio, full green screen 360, and we had generators, the whole thing, and we were outputting stuff all the time. That's insane. Now some of these shows that we're doing, they're now wanting them back. So we've now got a show that's actually on Revolt TV here now. It's the first show that's ever been made in Kenya or in East Africa that's specifically made for a US audience here. That's a weekly, like, magazine-style arts and entertainment show. And so we didn't realize it was the first one. And now we've reached out to Ghana. So we've got a team in Ghana now.
Wow.
And then, so we've now got 2 shows that are going on. And it's showing the stuff that's out there. That's why it's called What's Good. It was our DJ who used to live with us. It's a long story. He was the boyfriend of our daughter's, called Jawa. And he's a great DJ. Yeah. And he would always come out with his cup of coffee in the morning and lean against the wall and go, "What's good?" Like this as an announcement. Right. And so we took that into What's Good Studios, What's Good Networks, and so we've got all the monikers. We've got What's Good.fm, we've got What's Good.radio, we've got What's Good.africa, we've got WG.africa. We've got every single combination of What's Good and WG that you can get on the URL level. So.
Did you speak the language there? I don't know much about that area.
No, my son did, and my son's pretty good because he was this little white kid. Yeah. Actually, he's not white; he's half Samoan, so he looks like Mowgli from Jungle Book.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, or Tarzan. He looks more like Tarzan.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
unfair genetics from his mother.
All right.
Just incredible. Anyhow, he did stick out there, but everyone was all surprised when he was in an area. And then he would talk back to the guard that had been saying, somebody would say something nasty and he would bam, back at them.
Right.
And they'd be like, oh, crap, he speaks our language. So, You picked up some things, but not. I was rubbish at picking up the language. I could literally, after almost over a decade of being in the area, picked up barely nothing.
I can't imagine. It's an easy language.
My wife's mom comes in,
yeah,
and she's there for a week or so, and she leaves fully conversant because she's good at languages.
Wow. Yeah. I heard the food is good there. I don't know much about Kenya.
Food is great. Food is absolutely wonderful. We liked Ethiopian food better. Ethiopian food, literally, it's like chocolate or something. It provokes an emotional response. It's so good.
Is it because you're also from Scotland, the land of haggis or whatever the hell the
haggis? Yeah,
haggis. That's why.
Here's the funny thing: there's a lot of Scottish people in Kenya.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
I wouldn't have ever guessed that. Why? Why is there so?
It's ridiculous. The amount of it's like going to Toronto, and you find a lot of Scottish
of course.
people there.
Yeah.
It's like that. It's like, oh, you're Scottish, and so there's a lot of the white people that I find, if they're not American, there's a lot of Scottish people there. It's quite bizarre. The first guy I met in Kenya was Scottish. It was weird.
You got off the airplane, you're like, am I in the right place?
I did. No, honestly, I went to the studio. I went to the studio that we were going to be filming out of, that we ended up wasn't good enough. And so we were visiting, and I saw this guy, and somebody told him that I was coming. And he went, "Hi, you!" Like this. I was like, well, I literally had my bags. I was like, what? And he's like, "You get over here." I'm like, I've got my, hang on, I'll be back in a minute. I put my bags down. I didn't even get to the office. And he said, "Hey, you come and work with me." I'm like, "No, hang on." What? I had no idea what was going on. And anyway, he'd looked me up and stuff. And he wanted me to work on his Coke Studios thing, which, we became friends, and I helped him out on a consulting level. But I said, no, I've got my own things to do. And, he's quite a character.
Right. I can imagine someone that moved to Kenya, the Scottish.
Yeah, and so, that's where I was going to get to. All the Scottish people that are there, they are characters, all right. And there's people that have been there longer than me, and woof.
I feel like there's a Kaufman type story there that he should come and visit.
What? You're absolutely right. There probably is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You also did a movie there, or for a show for Netflix? Was that specifically based out of Kenya?
Oh yeah. So that was through. It was really weird. That was through Ginger Inc. Films. Through Ginger, the lady that runs it, and Guy, her husband. They were already pegged to do production. I'd worked as a creative director at Riot, which is now Method, and then I still had my 310 LA number there in Kenya. I did it through Vonage, so my phone would ring if it was from the States. Right, comes up with a little caller ID and everything. It was great. So so I get this call, and he says, "Hey, hi," and it turned out it was basically kind of my replacement. Not replacement. It was years and years later. But I think he had my office, my old office, and his name was Dan Glass. Is it Dan Glass? Anyway, and he called me and said, "I hear you filming in Africa and stuff like." I'm like, "Yeah," and he goes, "So would you? I know it's short notice, but would you be able to go there for Netflix?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm here.
Step outside my house, yeah."
Yeah, and he's like, "What?" And he goes, I said, "No, you're calling on my Vonage number. It's my 310 number." And he goes, "Wait, you're in Nairobi now?" And he goes, "What's the odds of I'm calling you to need you to go to Nairobi and you're already in Nairobi?" Right. He says, "I'm done. You're the hire for this." All right. And so he said, you need to talk to a local production company. And then so that's where the whole thing went from there. And it was really good. And actually that was later on in my time in Kenya. And it started the ball rolling. Well, look at him.
Yeah.
To like, I'm kind of missing production on a proper level. And I've really tried to do proper production there. And there's a lot of proper production that goes on there. But in the same way that you get non-union and smaller shoots happening here, there's some big shoots happening there, but there's still a lot. The technology is allowing the smaller shoots to happen without the knowledge of the bigger shoots.
I gotcha.
So we're leapfrogging over, and everyone's like, you see people using a drone for everything.
Yeah.
They will hold it and run around.
Wow.
It's not the right tool for the job, but it's technology that will deliver it. Now, of course, DJI have just launched the exact thing, but people would run around. I remember seeing this guy at a wedding, and he had a drone. It was on, but he had the propellers off, and he had like a red bow on it to make it look nice. Wedding. And he's like this. like getting the smooth shots like this, and I was like,
People think
"That's
it's
a
crazy,
Phantom 4 he's got, right?" And it was the weirdest thing with the ribbons on it, but it is allowing that people are leapfrogging over. So I remember going to the shoot, and this was the biggest budget shoot for a TV show in Kenya.
Sense8 is the show for people.
No, this is different. This is someone else.
Different show. Okay, sorry.
The show. And it's doing very, very well, but it's actually it's a Bollywood script that was being remade for Kenya. So it's kind of like very Bollywood, kind of style in terms of the script and everything. There's no dancing, but you get the idea. And they had all brand new Blackmagic cameras. They had a whole Steadicam thing. They had the whole thing like this, the whole thing. And I was watching the Steadicam footage. I was like, oh, they asked me to come in and help them with the lighting, because there's a lot of old timer lighters there. And there's some new guys that are doing some great stuff in Kenya. There's some new young talent that's amazing. There's some guys, they'll literally come up with a light and put it on a sandbag and put it in your face. And then you see a big old shot. They're like, that's the way we like things, with a Kenyan accent.
Right.
And I was like, no, we're going to do this different. So I got known for doing that good kind of lighting, and also lighting for African skin. I would do that all the time. I had to do it hundreds and hundreds of times. And I learned a lot about figuring out what you do. And a lot of it's what's behind the camera and not in front. It's not about how you light. It's about what you do behind. Anyway, gotcha. They asked me to come in and help them fix their shadow problem and this problem and that technical stuff. So I said, okay. And I came on set and I was looking at the Steadicam footage, and it was like, jugga, 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 jugga. And I said, what's that? And he goes, that's the Steadicam. I'm like, it's not very steady, is it? And they went, it's Steadicam. I'm like, no, that's not what Steadicam is supposed to look like.
Right.
Just because it's on a Steadicam, it's like hot water that's gone cold.
Right.
You can't still call it hot water. Right. It's like, it's the hot water.
It's like no, HD footage water without the autos. It was like you didn't focus. Like it's not HD until you focus. HD. You gotta focus. Exactly.
So anyway, I go across, and this girl had this Steadicam thing, and she was holding it like this, like a bear grip, like try to wrestle it, because she said it keeps on moving around. I said, you have to let it go. I said, give it to me. Right. And so I've done a bunch of Steadicam stuff over, and so I showed them, and they were like, oh, that's what it's for. So they had all the technology, but they didn't have the expertise. I really think the apprenticeship thing of learning and going through the ranks. You learn so much. And a lot of that, in the same way that's sometimes disappearing there, it's got the threat of disappearing there too. And so I would always try and do things on a proper level. And there's if you get the right budget, it allows you to get the right people in. So there's a lot of really good shoots going on there right now. But I know that and there's a lot of other companies that were doing it to the best of their abilities too. And they would not look out of place here. You could bring that whole crew and put them in LA and nobody would blink an eye. But in terms of teaching the young people to do things properly, that's where I felt I was doing that with all of my guys. I do it with all of our camera guys and all of our setup guys, and whenever we do a lot of live events, covering huge shows, multi-cameras, walkie-talkies, the whole thing. All of that had to be just bang on. So our guys got really, really good at that. And then now they've got a name for doing that. So they do that without me now. They don't, so it's, I really feel that we made an impact there in terms of not just the type of storytelling, but how it's done.
Did any of those kids that, you took on and mentored get any opportunity to either see or work on some of the Netflix stuff or some of the commercials? And
some of our guys have gone on to direct their own stuff. That's great. Yeah. And there's other Netflix shows now that some of them are on. And then I still get asked. I just got asked just the other day. There's a guy that's going to be filming on a Netflix show that I helped on on the Bollywood thing. Yeah. And he's like, hey, how would you do this? How did it? I'm always, I'm more than happy to give information and jump on a Zoom and help them out with those things. So yeah, there's a lot of people that are coming up through the ranks, and he's a really good guy, Walter. He's a lighter. And when he started, he was lighting, he was trying his best and lighting basic, but he was following the wrong guys. And now with the internet, he's blossomed into being really good, really good. Not from me, just being able to go and push themselves forward. I mean, I would always hassle him with his lighting. I'd say, dude, come on. Right. Go, okay. He would know what to do, but sometimes they get lazy.
You need the push.
So give him a little push. But we'd always use a lot of the same upcomers, and then, I remember there's another young guy called Eric. Eric G. He's now doing stuff for Netflix. And I had my Red camera in a case, and it was one I always used to take around. And then he got his camera and he did it in a case. He was wrapping it in a towel. I said, dude, you cannot arrive on set with a towel. You can't. I said, look, I've got a space in my other production case for my camera. I'm giving you my case. And I took my Reddit and packed it away and I said, here. And we got new foam, we put it in. He was like, because you can't get those, it's very difficult to get those cases there, those kind of, even Pelican cases, stuff like that. It's so works. So he still used that. He sends me pictures from set of his camera with my case still, so there's a lot of appreciation for small things that you can do if you can,
I think as incredible as your Team 17 stuff is and Hollywood stuff and commercial, I think this comes full circle as what you were talking about. This is much more valuable just for the greater good of pushing that area forward.
Well, I appreciate that. And I really enjoyed our time doing it. It was very difficult at certain points because, in terms of understanding the way that budgets work, it's very different there. Here in the States, advertising budgets comes off your tax dollars, basically, that you can spend a whole bunch and it won't impact you. There, it doesn't. There, they pay for the commercial and there's no tax breaks for them. So what you would spend, they want it to be Hollywood and they want it to be this thing with the chairs and the video village and all this kind of stuff, but they literally have a hundredth of the money. So we had to adjust our prices and everything, even though we were using all the right gear and everything. We want to pay people properly too, but it was really, really difficult. And then sometimes you'd have huge clients, really like multi-conglomerate clients,
right?
Just not pay, and they would not pay because they know, well, you can't really get us. Right. It was unbelievable, so gangster out there sometimes. Yeah. And so we'd go in for. I know people that was like, oh, I've still not been paid. It's been 3 years. I'm still fighting and going to court, and it was standard fare. And then also just the corruption. It's no picnic going to Kenya, even with the best intentions. I remember when Microsoft, Microsoft. So we were working with Microsoft because they were building their Microsoft studios. And they were coming in and really talking and doing what do you need? And we're going to build a dev studio, They weren't really quite understanding about how the limitations of money and stuff like that. And I remember that they kind of understood, they kind of felt that they were distanced from the actual realities of, okay, your battery's gone in your laptop. You can't plug into a power supply. You can't do that right now. These things are not, some things you can't. It's like letting people go home late at night. It's like, oh, thank you very much. Go home now. It's like they can't go home. It's dangerous to go out at certain times. And I thought they didn't have an understanding. They weren't in the community like the way we were.
Sure.
So Microsoft made a lot of mistakes, and now they've fixed all that. They're doing very well now. But at the time, I remember somebody from Kenya going, "We don't need your knowledge of what you know in your world. We just need your money."
Right.
Wow. Now, there was two sides to that. There's like, wow, that's ignorant and it's kind of rude, but their point didn't even really come across. Like, you don't understand what we need.
Yeah.
We know what you have. Just give us that and let us get on with it. So it's kind of, I was very frosty in that meeting. It's like,
very blunt.
It is really blunt.
But areas like that part of the world have to be blunt. That's know.
It's very, very like you don't understand. You're trying to come in. You're trying to do the right thing, but in the end, it's about the money. I remember there's another company. This might not be for your edit, but there was another company called Andela, and I remember when they came in, and they said, we're going to create a college and then train these people for them to be moved to Los Angeles, moved to Denmark, moved out. All right. And we're going to train them all up to world-class levels as devs and then move them out. And I remember my wife, she's really smart at figuring things out instantaneously of like where things will go. She's like, that's not going to work. Nope. And then we had a meeting with them and they've got millions of dollars. They're getting hundreds of millions of dollars. They built this huge campus. And she said, you're doing it all wrong. You make this campus, but make this the workplace, and people tell it, they come in and keep the brain trust here. Keep it here. Don't build it and let it go. And they're like, no, that's not our thing. That's not our roadmap. We're not going to do that. And she goes, well, literally come up to me when you come back to me. You want us to help you, do advertising and we were doing a lot of work with them for presenting what they do. She said, it's totally upside down what you're doing. So
if you're going to invest in the talent from that area, make that area better.
They were basically abusing it. They were training them. And then, because what they were reckoning is, all diaspora that are living in around the world, they send like 90% of their money back home.
Of course. Yeah.
So they were thinking it would help them because they're going to have more money, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, keep the brain trust here. So years later, they literally announced that that's exactly what they're going to do. But I remember, at that point, you've talked to quite a few people of the way they're wanting to do things. And it's like, there's a lot of really good intentions with simply bad ideas there coming from the West. And so the best way is to be embedded there and really understand and be there a long time. And then that's when people understand, if you've been there through the 2 elections, which was brutal, it was really bad. And I did not like it then. That was like, we have to leave or hide or something. It was really bad. Basically, they had organized their the elections very, very well. Usually they're not. They usually keep everything on paper, just like they keep the housing deeds on paper. And what would happen with the housing deeds is the building that they were kept in would occasionally go up on fire every 5 years. And other people would say, oh, I have my deed here of that piece of land. And it's like, no, you've just stolen the land from me with an identical copy with your name on it. And you've paid someone to set the building on fire. This happened like regular clockwork.
Wow.
And then when they tried to put it to digital and say, we're going to digitize it, all those people just like disappeared. It was like, they were found in a forest. Not joking.
Jesus Christ.
When the election was happening, they were saying this guy called Cris something, he was from Nigeria, and he was leading, it's an international team. They go around to many countries, hundreds of countries they operate in, and they call the Electoral Boundaries Commission, blah, blah, blah. And they go around and they conduct, they're experts at conducting elections. That's what they do. They get all the things, they figure it out. It's like, if you're going to hire like somebody to put on a concert, you hire people that do concerts. These people go around. And so they've worked in Kenya, Ghana, they worked all over Africa, India. They've gone to other places, China, everywhere. They go work around the world. And he said, we've installed biometric readers and retina scanners. We've got a double buffered database. It's offset. Everything's going to be done through SMS. There's going to be no paper trail. Well, there's going to be a paper trail backed up by SMS. Everything's, and they had it all super organized. And he said, there'll be no queues. We've got it organized so that this will happen here and blah, blah, blah. And the election did go off, the best election ever. No queues, no one standing outside. It was super, super well done. But the night before, when he was on TV saying, thank you very much, we'll see you at the polls tomorrow morning. Good night. Well, thank you very much, Chris. We hope that blah, 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 blah. Oh, I'm going to shake hands. He gets into his car. He's driving home.
No.
Dead.
Wow.
And 20 minutes later, his eyeballs and his thumb attempted to gain access to the servers.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
and he was found in the forest where everyone is dumped. He was found in the forest. Eyeless, thumbless, or both,
That's insane.
And so the elections went really well, and there was literally no technical problems. But then the opposition said, it's null and void. We don't know what's been happening here, blah, blah, blah. And they nullified the election. But the problem is, in the election rules is, because something to do with an old rule, it had to be redone within 30 days, or you have to start again. So somebody knew this. And on the second time the election happened, there was a lot of, everyone's like, you better vote, or there's a lot of violence threats, because the second election wasn't as good as the first. And there was hardly anyone went. So we were asking our guys, isn't it vote? Shouldn't you be going? They're like, fuck, I'm not going out there. Are you crazy? There's people getting shot and abused in line, and people getting beaten, stuff like that. And so when they nullified the first election and the second election, somehow there was a 97% turnout for the current president. They're like, oh, all advertising stopped, all radio stations closed, TV stations closed, banks closed. Everyone was pulling their money out and hiding because they're thinking, oh, it's turmoil. There was this phrase, it's like whenever you're doing business, they're like, the election's coming up. Let's talk after the election. There's always turmoil in the election. So it's like, let's just talk after then. So in this time, it was bad. And we held on to our staff. We even had them staying at the studio. We had sleeping bags and food and the whole thing because they couldn't get home. All the roads were blocked off. There was tires on fire. They were beating anything. I mean, I had to aggressively drive my Land Rover, and I was a white guy, and I made it very clear I was a white guy driving this, and they're like, they didn't touch me. But it was difficult driving, driving through things and over things to get to where you want to go. And we were on the top floor and of a place, and we were like, we had We had to get weaponized. We had to get locked in. We had to get as much food as we can. And it was months and months of nothing. I remember we actually had to go downtown, and it was like pandemic style. It's like the inside of the central business district was just silent. There was no one there. It's like, this is weird. We should film this.
28 days later, yeah, you got your
it was really wacky. So we had some really tough times, and the economy really took a nosedive. And so we held on to our large property for a long time, probably about 3 or 4 months longer than we should have, until we said, right, we have to downsize. And so we had to downsize to smaller, and then we slowly built up from that again.
That was this a while ago, or is there a positive outlook now? Or
So that was 2016, 2017. But let's put it in perspective. You know, when you see esports happening and you think of these huge prizes with esports, you know, Red Bull, they sponsor everything and are a huge presence. You won't believe this. They did a small esports tournament, and Red Bull were the sponsor. And it was like the Red Bull fridges, Red Bull ball caps, and a little Mini Cooper with a Red Bull. They got the car.
They sponsor Age of Empires, believe it or not, the game I still watch. Yeah.
Right. But the top prize for winning was 4 cans of Red Bull.
What? Wow.
It's all they're like, they get given product and they don't have any money. That car came from Dubai. There's no money there's no sports money. So we've worked hard to try and get esports. So we started the first esports championship league called AEC, the African Esports Championship. And we partnered with over 25 countries to actually do it. And we had people come in and pledge money, and it's in the contract, and they won't give it. So it's even difficult to hand out the prize money that they've got all the benefit from. So we looked at all the stuff that was happening in Europe. It's amazing, amazing shows. And we didn't want someone to look at the Kenyan one and go, oh, that's nice. They tried. You know, we want to give something that's like, well, it's going to be good. So we did a whole virtual studio thing. We did the whole thing. We even, did it so that we had green screen and the camera live. And these guys were seeing themselves what looked like inside like an aircraft hangar, but they're inside a room like this with green screen. It blew their little tiny minds, And so doing that kind of stuff way back then, it's now popular here. Yeah. But we're taking like an Oculus controller and taping it to the camera. It's like, all right, it's working. Let's do this. All right. And so it was amazing looking. So what we were doing, we were filming the event with all the cameras on them, with all the players, with the reaction cameras, audience cameras. We had the host. We had a huge big screen. We had real-time graphics. We had start and stop graphics. We had all the light. We couldn't afford lights, so we built lights into the screen, as it were, as a 3D environment. And then we added lights to the side that were DMX controlled. We had a full mixing desk, we had a full audio mixing desk, and we did that. We recorded all of that, and then we made a show from that also as doing a live event. So we had 8 cameras all recording. We did the whole thing. So, and then we were really trying to make it look as like a proper Western type event, which we succeeded. But in terms of, did we basically put a bunch of money in? And then even the TV companies that aired it, they were just like, yeah, it's in our billing department. It's like we literally had to go down there and literally go down with bouncers with like baseball bats and threaten to smash people's cars or something like that. It wasn't that much. We had to go down there and sit there and stand at the office with our Archie, our fixer guy, right? And saying, I'm not leaving. It's like, you can't leave. Physically holding people back until it's like, I'm not leaving without a check.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a different world. It's a different world out there.
Very different world. So it's great ideas for all of this stuff, but in terms of the money that they have to do it, it really hampers growth.
There's something extremely admirable though about the route you've taken with this, because it's one thing to donate money to something. A lot of people donate money that never sees the light of day to the people they wanted to allegedly donate it to. That's another thing to set up a business or a charity and go there and live there and be with the people and give them another opportunity at this thing, give them a different outlook. Maybe people from the West see Kenya, and maybe myself as well, ignorant a little bit about what's going on there. You think, oh, we just want to give them stuff to survive, but the reality is you want to give them stuff so they see hope and build something of their own. You want to do business with them. Yeah, is actually what it is. It's business.
So we have our non-profit, which is Good Makers Films. It's a film production company that's just for non-profit. But What's Good Studios, it's for profit. because it's about giving them business and making business. One of the biggest problems that when they're donating computers from the States is that they'll take some old crap from the school here, put in a shipping container, big old heavy shipping container, and ship it over there. And then they've got this big old Compaq 386 or something, and no network, no Wi-Fi, with a horrible old CRT screen. And we're like, don't do that. Put that money that you would have spent into purchasing local laptops to help the local business. And then they will support it with a laptop that's got battery that will survive the power outages and stuff like that. Do business with them. And that's why any of the things that we've done with this, we're doing business. Kenya and Nairobi is a massive cosmopolitan area. And if you are, there's a lot of people that go out there and they get their eyes opened in even just the nightlife is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. There's amazing beauty out there, and just the amazing everything. When people go out, they look absolutely world class, and the nightclubs are absolutely world class too. You wouldn't believe it.
Right.
Kenya at one point, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, was the third biggest growing economy in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, it's huge. So in terms of, I mean, if you go down, here's the thing, they beat America for mobile money. They were there 10 years ago. No one carries money there. You have it. It's a thing called M-Pesa. It goes with your phone, and it works on any WAP browser from any Nokia 810 from the 80s or 90s.
Right. Wow.
Anything that can run WAP from a SIM card, the basic thing, any phone can do that.
I would think of South Korea, not Kenya as a leader in this. I would think of like South Korea, the futuristic hub of the...
Nope.
Kenya did it.
Kenya, hands down.
Insane.
So no one carries money, and everything is done with M-Pesa. It's like, oh, you go to a stall to buy something, their M-Pesa number's there. You type in the M-Pesa. You go to the WAP thing. You type in their number. You press send. It comes up with their name. They can see their name. You type in the amount. You press send. Their phone goes bzz, and they go, oh, I got it. Your name's Steve. Yep. Right. Okay, got it.
Wow.
And that's it. And if you lose your phone, your account's fine. Your money doesn't go anywhere.
It's cryptocurrency to a certain extent, right? It's a little bit of... You
get your phone and your SIM card replaced within an hour or so. Sorry, what was that?
It's almost like cryptocurrency a little bit in the sense that like it's on you.
Oh, it's very safe.
Yeah.
Yep, it's very safe, and people use it for absolutely everything. And then the funny thing is because there was no banks in the way, it allowed it to progress and do more things. Of course,
yes.
So the profits that go from that, it's actually a phone company that runs it. They take the profits from that and put it into foundation for local things. It's great. But you try and doing that here. Apple Pay, Google Play, the thing, all Amazon. If you got the little machine, it's got 50 different things running. It's like, oh, we support all of those, but not Apple Pay. And you're like, okay, out comes the card again. Blah, blah, blah. Right? So no, they're past all of that, but no credit cards.
That's crazy. I mean, it makes sense.
And also, if you get a loan, the cheapest loan you can get from a bank is 27%.
Oh my God. That's crazy.
It's like a bad credit card. So everyone does.
It's a mobster. It's not. It's a literal mobster.
We gotta have to be careful. We've done deals with certain. We did a commercial for a betting company, and that were operating in Kenya but weren't from Kenya, and they were interesting characters, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I can imagine, as most betting companies are.
Yeah, really, really. We actually, I did another commercial for another betting company, and then I was like, I'm not doing any more. I can't. Of course, I don't want to do any betting companies.
I'm from Serbia, and originally, and Eastern Europe is just a landmine of betting companies. When I watch movies or shows or football games, I literally cannot. Like, the only commercials they have is betting companies. It's really scary. It's really worrying.
It's actually taken a toll in Kenya because people that are kids are using their fees that go to school. You get given school fees, and they get given money that they have to keep a hold of, or M-Pesa. By the way, they restrict it with the age of the person that's associated with the phone. You can't do betting through M-Pesa if your phone is of your account. So, young kids were using their money that were given to then literally bet, and they'd bet their money away. And there's people that are grown-up people that were thinking that it's a guaranteed success. You know, it's really interesting dealing with dealing with the culture there. It's just so very, very different. You know, our partner out there, Jerry, he's half Scottish, half Kenyan. There's a lot of that out there. And his dad was very, very well known in the government. And he's saying, you come up with a simple message and you tell someone to do it, they will do it. Buy this thing. And so a lot of the commercial, now it's getting more sophisticated now, but 10 years ago, it was less sophisticated. And he said, all my best campaigns include the thing, do this now. and then people do it now. People are wise to it now, but back then it appealed to them in a certain way that was, and I said, I can't believe we're just telling people what to do. Download the app now. And then we literally download the app now. We'd be watching and it's like, boom, like, what the hell? You know, they would watch it in real time. It was just absolutely nuts. And he goes, told you.
Wow.
You know, it's funny. There's a commercial that's in Kenya, and this guy actually wrote the commercial, and it's the Safaricom commercial. If you say the Safaricom commercial, they've done millions of commercials since, but the original one, everyone's like, oh, that defines Kenya. Oh my God, it's such a Kenya. It's the best thing. It was the best commercial we ever did. The music was done by this guy that we know. It's Kenya. It's so Kenya. Oh, we love it because it's so uniquely Kenya. Right. And I'm like, dude, that's the Qantas commercial from 1977. And Jerry's like, don't tell people that. Right. You think it's my idea. I'm like, dude, it's on the internet. Come on. And the Qantas commercial copied it from Coca-Cola. I want to share a world of That one's from 1968 or whatever it was.
Hiding in plain sight, as they call it. These sometimes
exactly.
These hiding in plain sight.
I've shown that commercial, the Qantas, and I'm like, but that's the Safaricom commercial that they hold so dear to their heart. Yeah, it's funny. It's really one of the things I did in a lot of the commercials that I did over there, which was, again, this is the kind of freedom that I loved having. Well, let me back up. The internet is totally there now. Great internet, really good internet, no problem at all. But the before then, the internet was very expensive. Like one megabit was over $300 or $400 when I got there per month.
So no one used it, basically.
Yeah. So then people would bring things in from the States on hard drives, and there was a lot of hard drive sharing. And I noticed that there was the whole bunch of the same, when people would share movies, there was a whole bunch of the same movies, and I think it was the 48th Grammy was on there.
Right.
And I noticed that was always in everyone's collections. I was like, why is that there? And I realized pre-internet, and it was on a hard drive.
Right.
You know? So anyway, I took a lot of iconic parts from movies and put them in commercials and totally didn't say anything. Like there was the famous, in Star Trek, the hello computer.
Right.
I totally put the whole scene in the commercial. It was so much fun. It was absolutely so much fun.
You're just living your childhood fantasies over there and making
I totally did. I totally did. And I did that time and time again. And it was about, I even redid some Monty Python skits, and it was great. We were filming 3 times a week, and we had full-time editors going, and it was, we were churning out these commercials. And it was at a time that there was different rules. We did this thing called a roadblock, whereas all the commercials would come on at the same time. Like 9 o'clock was a commercial time. Boom. Right? All the channels. So we did this roadblock as we made a commercial that was 3 minutes long that would fill the entire commercial space. And these people had so much money, they bought the entire commercial space.
Wow.
So whatever channel you were on, you're watching the same commercial. You couldn't escape it. And they called it a roadblock.
The biggest troll in commercial space.
Yeah, and so after that, a few years after that, they banned it from happening again. But anyway, the commercials were super popular. And the company that we worked for went from having... And they'd spent a lot of money bringing in South African directors and a whole huge production and having exactly the wrong message. And we analyzed all of that and actually looked at their data and went, they need a local message. And so we did great production, funny stuff with the right character. And they went from like 100th, like ranked on the internet to number 1 for 2 years, number 1 searched item in Kenya.
That's insane.
And it went to be it became part of the fabric of things. Everyone was on it. Everyone was part, and people call us up to be on it. It was so huge, and so that really put us on the map there because we were doing these commercials, and And we were just so I got to do music on those too. I chose to do the music, but there's always be sound effects, there'd always be visual effects, there's always something to paint out. We literally had a guy in the background trying to jump around, being an idiot because he thought he was ruining the shot. I was like, keep rolling, I'll paint him out. Right, don't worry. Right. Like this. And then the guy Archie would go across, literally just pick him up and go, whoa. He's no longer a problem. I said he wasn't a problem. It's okay. Don't hurt people. But yeah, that whole sequence from the Hello Computer was so much fun doing that kind of stuff. But then I'd show my guys afterwards. I'd say, "All right, I stole that. Look," and I'd play it, and they're like, "Oh."
Like you did something really naughty.
But going back to the movies, they didn't have. So there's a lot of these movies that they don't know about. They know about everything going forward now. Like Netflix is there, Showtime's there, HBO is there, everything's there. In fact, Netflix is a little bit better because it includes CBS.
Okay.
So I would get Star Trek there, but not here. You have to buy the CBS app, but they did a licensing deal because they're not got a presence over there.
Chris, I mean, this has been 2 hours and 15 minutes of, I don't know, to me it was one of the best conversations I've had. So I think if you ever want to come back, I'd love to have you back. I just want I want a Kenya only episode or something, because
all right, let's do that.
To me, that turned out to be even more interesting than the stuff I was interested in, if that makes sense. So how can people maybe help out the cause? How can they invest in Kenya? Or what do you want to plug that you're working on? Anything?
Oh, well, our shows are called What's Good Africa. They're on Revolt TV. They're doing really well. We've got Ghana Edition out there. We're always trying to get more gear out there. That's one of the things. We're working with a company called the Cinema Devices. They make a thing called the Anti-Gravity Cam. We're trying to get one. It's a unique product. We're trying to get one over there and then take one of the people that actually operate it here in LA and get them over there. And that costs money. But we haven't really set up anything for that yet. That's just kind of like a pipe dream for, again, it will give them a business that we can actually, they can run with.
That's the key, right? Yeah. So is there like a need for more exposure for that kind of, like, because probably a lot of people know, or they don't know, but they think like, hey, I can throw out my old electronics, like laptops and stuff, and they don't really think about these things in general, but there is a way to get them over there, or no?
No, getting laptops over there is a bad idea. Getting laptops from here over there is a bad idea. Sadly, with all best intentions, it isn't. It's better to donate money so that we can give it to the right people that would then do that. We haven't been doing a lot of that because I've been concentrating on dealing with COVID and me being here and Tilo going back and forward. So, but it is something that we can. But if we have got, I guess we've got email addresses on our Good Makers site or even our What's Good Studio site. The info ones you could, if anyone wanted to, have any smart ideas, we could put in there.
I'll leave those.
But yeah, it's about empowering them to do business. It's not about giving them a handout. It's not about that. It's just like when Haiti happened, they were sending grain and rice down there. It's like it's the worst thing you can do. All you're doing is cutting out the production cycle of all these people that deliver it and harvest it and look after it and put it in, and the whole routine. They devastated the farmers down there by helping. So in the same way, it's not about giving equipment. It would be about giving equipment if you can get it in there, but there's all sorts of problems in getting equipment in there too.
Teaching a man how to fish, right? Instead of giving him fish.
Teach them. Yeah, exactly. And so that's what we've been doing. And then all the equipment that we got over the years that I brought over slowly over the last 10 years, it's still all over there. So yeah, I mean, a lot of it is if a camera breaks, say somebody snaps a camera off because they didn't put it on the tripod properly and it snaps off the lens. It's like, well, the lens is broken, camera mount's broken. We now can't get that camera repaired. Canon have just opened up a repair center there, just like literally a month ago.
Wow. So there's some progress there. Do you have a page that people can follow you for updates on your projects and stuff, or where are you releasing that kind of information, I guess?
We're not really, and I really need to do a better job of that. I mean, it's really weird. My building my synthesizer thing has been really interesting and fun on my COVID project.
Yeah, I've seen that on the YouTube channel. Yeah. You're doing a lot of these videos.
It's really, it's amazing the amount of people that have reached out to me because I've been busy recently, and I get 3 or 4 emails a week, and replies or comments asking like, "Are you okay? Where have you gone?"
All right.
So it's up, but so no, I don't. I mean, if they wanted to email me, chris.b@me.com, that's my email address. But there's also any of the infos at What's Good Studios or goodmakersfilms.org. Any of those info ones would work. They go straight to my wife.
Awesome. I'll try to leave as much information in the description of videos and stuff. But this was, I mean, for me, a fantastic conversation. And I'm
Good
extremely
stuff.
grateful for your 2 hours and 20 minutes. So thanks a
Wow.
lot.
Time flies.
Yeah.
All right, great stuff.
Thanks for
Glad to
being
do this.
here.
It was good fun.
All right. Cool. We're good. Click.